Paramount Plus free trial acquired. Beer cracked open. Expectations lowered. Hello there guys, gals, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Leipalarden and welcome into my scatterbrained review of episode 1 and episode 2 of season 2 of the Halo TV show. We've got a double episode debut over here.
See, nobody cares.
Sanctuary starts with a flashback to events immediately after the end of Season 1, with Master Cheeks lying motionless on an operating table, with Cortana telling him to wake up after he handed control of his body over to her. And before we even know what's going on, we're back into the present day as Silver Team are monitoring a village on the planet Sanctuary. While Kai and Vanek provide overwatch, Chief and Riz head down to the village as the UNSC move in to try and evacuate its population ahead of a Covenant attack. But some old bird, presumably a religious leader within the village, has decided that she doesn't want to leave. Chief steps in to help the Marines evacuate the civilians, and he's mocked by the village's leader. Kai and Vanek get talking, with Vanek admitting that he's removed his emotional inhibitor pellet, the one that Chief pulled out of his ass last season. Kai notices a flash up on a nearby ridgeline, and the Covenant are confirmed to be on their way. Riz stays behind to help the civilians evac on Condors, while Chief sprints off to keep the Covies at bay, using his grapple shot to scale a cliff face. As Chief heads deeper into the fog, he encounters a comms team who fire on him because they're idiots, and some warthogs that are having their radars or something jammed. And then the Covenant begin to attack, picking the Marines off one by one in a really cool sequence where camouflaged elites jump in and out of the fog. Apparently Chief can smell the Covenant, and that's how he knows they're nearby? Interesting that he can do that under the helmet. I wonder what elites smell like. Definitely not like Tom Ford cologne, I'm sure. Chief gets some kills in against a few elites, and right away I've noticed that the action is a little bit more sporadically shot than last season. There's a lot of handheld camera here, which is distracting and makes following the action a bit difficult. While going back to find the last survivor of the attack, a Marine called Perez, Chief is surrounded by elites with energy swords, who then turn and walk away as Chief sees what I'm seriously hoping is a hallucination of Marquis, the Covenant POW that he boned last season. Before we have any time to ask any more questions, the Covies start glassing the planet. Chief makes it back to the Condors with Perez, and the leader of the village hints at Chief's death coming soon. Ooh, ominous. Back on Reach with Chief again, taking his top off and getting naked, this time in the shower hearing some weird sounds. The Spartans are then debriefed by the now Admiral Keyes. Oh, look at you with your promotion, you big lad earning 6 figures now. Chief notes that the Covies were on Sanctuary before they glassed it, which doesn't make a lot of sense. If you want to glass a planet, why invade it first? We're then introduced to James Ackerson from ONI, who has now been placed in charge of the Spartan program and is kind of Halsey's replacement. His mission for the Spartans? To keep the Covies focused on the outer colonies, preventing people living on planets like Reach from feeling unsafe. It's not a very good plan, but he wouldn't be an antagonist if it was. And of course, we get a useless bloody B-plot on the rubble, Soren's little colony of criminals and misfits. A couple of survivors from planets that have been glassed by the Covenant are being put on show and basically sold off as, I'm not going to use the S word, but you know what I mean, in order to get asylum on the rubble. One of the younger prisoners, Felix from Harvest, seems to know the location of Dr. Halsey, whose name I guess is infamous among even pirates now. And this piques Soren's interest. While he doesn't believe him at first, Soren sets out with some of his pirates to find Halsey after questioning Felix. They end up going back to the ship that Felix was supposedly on, where it's revealed that Felix is an undercover agent who sets a trap for Soren and arrests him for deserting the Spartan program. Master Cheeks goes into chat with Ackerson, having a hunch that the Covies were on Sanctuary, invading the planet as a test, potentially before planning to invade a larger target, like Reach potentially. Chief also seems sure that one of the elites he encountered was their leader, potentially the Arbiter. Ackerson shrugs the Chief off, not listening to his hunch and instead thinking he suffered some kind of hallucinations or side effects after getting Cortana and the neural interface removed from his head. Keyes awards Corporal Perez with the Colonial Cross, and we see some of the propaganda that the UNSC is using to keep morale high, adding in additional crowds of people and more condors in the background. The impression being that humanity seems to be on its last leg, with its military numbers falling. Ackerson is also there talking up Silver Team, which rubs Spartan Cobalt Team the wrong way. Finally, we get to see some more Spartan 2s other than just Silver Team. John goes incognito in the lower streets of Coruscant, Reach, who stumbles across former Admiral Parangoski, who apparently took the fall for Halsey's stuff-ups. Parangoski basically enlists Chief as a secret agent for her, getting him to update her on the Covenant's moves. While Ackerson won't listen or believe Chief, Parangoski potentially will, but I think this is all just an elaborate power play to get back into the UNSC and own his good books. In a really bizarre scene, Chief also ends up going to the Halo equivalent of the backrooms in the Vanilla Unicorn from Grand Theft Auto 5, where he gets the hologram in question to look like Cortana and gets counseling from it about the visions and strange sounds he's hearing. He's still recovering from the loss of Marquis after their little one-night stand. Boy is whipped! The episode wraps up rather haphazardly, and I shit you not, it ends with a teaser of Kwan's return, who is apparently just living in a cave on the rubble somewhere with a bunch of star charts drawn on the ceiling and is talking to Soren's son Kessler. Good lord, we're really following this plot thread from last season, huh? Okay. Well, thankfully she doesn't have that awful mullet anymore, so that's a plus. So, quick summary and thoughts on episode 1 before I jump into episode 2. The start of this episode was great. I love seeing Silver Team working effectively as a unit, with a bit more personality now that they've all removed their emotional inhibitors. I think it's setting the stage for an interesting confrontation with the Covenant and eventual invasion of Reach, and I'm noticing a definite improvement in the tone and look of the series overall. But I still don't think that Halo is lending itself well to the long-form TV format. All the cutaways to Soren's B-plot story had me shaking my head because it's really mundane. I'm sure he'll be more important in the future, but for now, I could take or leave that storyline, especially if last season is any indication of how things will go, which will be very slowly. We start episode 2 off right away with Dr. Halsey, who is talking to a younger woman in some weird kind of place that they're in. It's kind of strange cerebral stuff going on here. Halsey doesn't seem to know where she is or who is holding her here. As she tries to probe further into what's going on, asking the younger woman some questions, she fucking keels over and dies almost on cue. Whoever is holding Halsey is either employing some kind of flash clones and has a way to trigger an aneurysm on demand. Turns out, big surprise, it's Ackerson, who apparently also has Cortana secured somewhere, similar to Halsey, who Ackerson has locked away in a holographic chamber. Kai and Chief are having a deep and meaningful and mentions that he saw Marquis. Cobalt Team gets their status changed to standby, meaning that their whereabouts are unknown, potentially dead. Also funny that in this universe there's a Sigma team based. When he tries to appeal to Ackerson once again, Chief gets told that he's completely out of his mind and that the Marine survivor from the first episode, Perez, didn't corroborate Chief's story about the elites, the implication being that she was forced to lie. Meanwhile, on the rubble we follow Kwan for most of this episode. Yay! As she struggles to remove a tag from her ear. Evidently she's been brought into this S-wordery thing like Felix was about to in the first episode. Anyway, moving on because that's boring. Riz, still recovering from her injury where she got half her arm blown off by a plasma grenade, decides to hit the gym and meet up with a blind friend of hers called Lewis, who low-key gets Riz into thinking about leaving the Spartan program and living a normal life. Riz and Silver Team get to running some combat exercises out in the field, where she continues to fall behind, being hindered by her injuries. She ends up falling down a waterfall, which looks like the same place that they filmed Halo Nightfall? I think it is. Chief ends up going to Perez's home on Reach, asking why she lied to Ackerson about seeing all those elites. In a rather awkward scene, Chief gets roped into having dinner with Perez's family. There's something I never thought I'd see, Chief sitting down for a family meal, who catch on to the fact that he's a Spartan pretty quickly. Perez confirms that she's also been hearing weird noises similar to Chief, and the reason she didn't tell Ackerson about the elites was because they didn't kill her. Yes, but of course, that all makes perfect sense. Back in the bowels of some facility on Reach, it's revealed that Attribution has held onto the Forerunner glowing Dorito from Season 1 and has Cortana stored with it, locked out of accessing external systems. She's also had something of a facelift since last season. She looks completely different, and I'm not certain if it's for the better. Attribution has her locked away running simulations about the Covenant's invasion of Reach, presumably. Cortana predicts there's a 97% probability that they're going to find the planet and invade it. Chief goes digging to find the whereabouts of Cobalt Team, discovering that they never actually left Reach and something fishy is afoot. He sets off with Silver Team to their last known location, Visegrad Relay, which apparently went dark a couple of days ago, similar to the events of a certain other story set on Reach. We all know where this is going. Meanwhile, on Reach at Oni Sword Base, wow, this episode is just full of callbacks, isn't it? Some Marines are also having their comms jammed, similar to Chiefs and the Warthogs on Sanctuary. 2 squads of Marines get sent in, and neither of them return as an elite cuts them all down. Before this elite, who may or may not be the Arbiter, can kill the last Marine, he's told to stand down by Marquis. Whoa, hold up, wait a minute. Wait a minute, okay, alright, this is, fuck! In Sword Base, they discover the larger Forerunner artifact after it was secured by Silver Team at the end of Season 1, and then episode ends. So, the question on everyone's lips. Did it suck? Whoa boy. Episode 2 was a bit of a filler, wasn't it? A lot happening, but also not much happening at the same time, if that makes any sense. And the reveal that Marquis is alive after being shot really pissed me off. I cannot tell you how much I despised that romance plot in the first season of the show, and now to have it seeming to be the point of attention for this season as well is already making me feel like we're off to a rough start. So much of the marketing for this season was, oh, it's better than the last one, it's staying truer to the games. Yeah, when does it get better than the last one? If you're going into this season expecting a reboot or something, you're not getting it. This is still very much in keeping with Season 1. So far, contrary to what some critics might be saying, I'm not seeing much of an improvement here. I'm gonna give Episode 2 a tentative 5 out of 10. It wasn't bad, but it certainly wasn't good either. Attribution is a genuinely interesting antagonist and menacing too, and I quite like the dynamic that Silver Team has, or that could just be the 2 or 3 yeast-based beverages that I had before watching this, relaxing my bad dialogue meter. Either way, so far, it's fine. It's just more of what we had before, which is really not what I wanted. We'll have to wait and see if things improve, but my fingers are not crossed. But I'll tell you what you should be doing with your fingers. Clicking the subscribe button. You wouldn't. You're way scared, terrified in fact, like Chief is of funny noises and his ex-girlfriends, apparently.